Hello students. In the last class I explained about kingdom Monera. In that I started eubacteria, and today I am continuing the same topic eubacteria. In that I am explaining about structure of prokaryotic cell. If you take the structure of prokaryotic cell, the prokaryotic cell it consisting of 1 cell envelope, 2 cytoplasm, 3 flagella, and the fourth one is pilus and fimbriae. So these are the four important parts that are present in the prokaryotic cell. So this is a prokaryotic cell. You can follow my arrow mark, then you can understand. So this is completely, it is called as prokaryotic cell, which consisting of cell envelope and cytoplasm. In that you can be able to see this genetic material also, this purple color structure, it is called a genetic material, and it consisting of flagella, and these bristle like structures you can notice, and these bristle like structures they are called as pilus and fimbriae. Again, if you take the cell envelope, it is again divided into three parts. The first one is glycocalyx, the second one is plasma membrane, and the third one is cell wall. So these are the three parts which are included under cell envelope. Again, the cytoplasm it consisting of genetic material, ribosomes, and the some other accessory parts called as inclusions. Again, the genetic material, it includes two types of genetic materials. The first one is nucleoid and the next one is plasmid. But please understand, plasmid is a genetic material which can't be seen in all the bacteria. Of course, definitely I'm going to explain very detailedly about all these structures. Then you will clearly, still more clearly you will understand. Now let us go for every part one after one. This is the first part. The first part of the prokaryotic cell is cell envelope. Again, the cell envelope, as I already shown, cell envelope it consisting of glycocalyx, cell wall, and plasma membrane. I am taking under cell envelope the first part that is called as glycocalyx. Now, if you take the first part glycocalyx, this glycocalyx layer, it is the outermost layer of the prokaryotic cell. Now if you want I will show it also. So this green color sheath, and this green color sheath it is called as glycocalyx, and this blue color layer, and this blue color layer it is called as cell wall, and सबसे नीचे you can be able to see this golden yellow color, this golden yellow color layer it is called as plasma membrane. So upper green layer is called glycocalyx plus middle blue colored cell wall plus and innermost this what you call golden yellow color layer it is called as plasma membrane, and this is three together it is called as cell envelope. Students, this is just an image. Don't think that these all are present in the same colors. Usually bacterial cells they don't have proper colors. Okay, now, if this glycocalyx it is present loose and thin, that loose and thin glycocalyx it is called as slimy layer or slime layer. You can call anything, no problem, because meaning is same. Now the glycocalyx is very tough and thick, then that is called as capsule. Again I'm telling you, the glycocalyx is the outermost layer of the prokaryotic cell. If that glycocalyx it is loosely arranged and it is very thin, then that is called as slimy layer. Whereas the same glycocalyx in some bacteria it is present very tough and very thick, then that is called as capsule. Where this bacteria which is surrounded by capsule is called as capsulated bacteria, and capsulated bacteria is mostly seen in phagogenic. Hope you know what is the meaning of phagogenic bacteria. The bacteria which create some disease to the host cell, host organism, then that is called as phagogenic. Now the glycocalyx is a glycoprotein coat. That means this glycocalyx, it is made up of glucose and protein. Glucose and protein together, it is called as a glycoprotein, because we can't write glucose and protein. That's why we clubbed this glucose and protein. That's why it became glucoprotein. So that means this is a layer, it consisting of one hand में glucose also, and another hand it also consisting of proteins. As two components are mixed to form this layer, it is called as glycoprotein layer, where its composition and also thickness, it differs from one bacteria to another bacteria, where in some bacteria it is present in form of slime layer, in other bacteria it is present in form of capsule, as I just mentioned maximum of 5 minutes back. If it is capsule, the same glycocalyx, it is made up of polysaccharides and polypeptides, whereas same glycocalyx, if it is present as slime layer, it is made up of only polysaccharides, where polypeptides are absent. Please try to understand, both are glycocalyx only, but according to their nature, their composition, it differs. That is a point you need to understand. If it is in present, if it is in form of tough coat, it need some toughness, and the toughness it is given by the polypeptides, whereas if it is like loosely arranged, it don't need much toughness. That's why it is only made up of polysaccharides. This is a point you please understand. What are the functions of glycocalyx? We will understand. Glycocalyx, it helps in the formation of colony. That means bacteria, they becomes a group. Many bacteria, they becomes a group, and this group of the bacteria, it is called as colony, and this colony formation is greatly supported by the glycocalyx only. And with the help of glycocalyx, this bacteria, it got the ability to resist the phagocytic engulfing of the WBC. Hope you know what is the meaning of phagocytic engulfing. Means when any bacteria it entered into our body, in our body we have innately a type of system called as a disease resistant system. For example, a very common understanding you try to recollect every day. Of course not now, because this is a corona time, so we are restricted to home itself. But earlier, if a father give you 100 rupees, of course in that 100 rupees, obviously will spend the 50 rupees for buying pani puri only. Am I correct or not? And with what hands he will prepare that pani puri, and where he is selling that pani puri, we don't know. So we are having such a contaminated food. That means how many bacteria they are entering into our body, just imagine. So that many bacteria they're entering, but every day you are not getting any disease. How is it possible? See, in the earlier class, that means in the yesterday's class, I told bacteria causes diseases. Now every day, almost every day, you are having this pani puri, and you are going on the road, and how dirt it comes, it rises on the road, and you are inhaling the dirt air, and you are eating sometimes contaminated food outside, in the name of pizza, in the name of burger, whatever it may be, in the name of pani puri, aapka favorite. So whatever it is, what I wanted to tell you is, you are having some contaminated food. That means the food which consisting of the bacteria. But still, my logic, please try to understand what I told in the yesterday's class. Bacteria causes diseases, but every day you are having bacteria, but still you are not getting diseases. That means there is something in our body which is stopping the bacteria to cause disease. Am I correct or not? At least this logic you understood now. And that is due to our innate capacity called disease resistant capacity, given by this WBC. This WBC, it has a capacity to engulf this particular bacteria. Engulfing means, for example, if I gave gulab jamun to a small boy, then if you ask me, mujhe bhi thoda dete hai, matlab what he will do? Immediately he will keep the whole gulab jamun in the mouth, and he will gulp it. Am I correct or not? Like that, the whole bacteria, it will be taken by the WBC at once, and that process, it is called as engulfing. Hope you got my point. Like that, this our body may innately we have capacity to stop the bacteria to cause the diseases, and that capacity it is called as immunity. Again I'm repeating, immunity means our body has innate capacity to resist the disease which is caused by bacteria and virus, and that capacity it is called as immunity or immune resistance. Very simply it is called as disease resistant system. And the disease resistant system it is given by white blood cells. Very simply you can call it as WBC, where this WBC, when it is engulfing this bacteria, some bacteria can escape. All the bacteria cannot be able to escape. Some bacteria can be able to escape, and that escaping it is given by this glycocalyx. So now you read this point again, you will definitely understand. Glycocalyx enables the bacteria to resist the phagocytic engulfment by WBC. That's why whenever with the help of this glycocalyx the bacteria is escaping from engulfing, then you are getting some diseases like some disorders like some like fever, sometimes you will get some cold, sometimes you will get some cough. These are all diseases when it is happening, when so intelligently the bacteria it is escaping the engulfing from WBC, then you are getting this particular diseases. Hope you got my point. And glycocalyx also makes the bacteria to attach. Adherence means attachment, attaches to the environmental surfaces or even in our body also. The ability to, for example, in our body there is one cell and this bacteria wanted to attach to that cell. How it is attaching to that cell? With the help of glycocalyx. Even if you take any utensils, if unwashed utensils, in that unwashed utensils this bacteria will attach to that. How it is attaching? With the help of glycocalyx. Hope you understood what is glycocalyx, which is a first layer of the cell envelope. Hope you understood. If you still don't understand, you can ask any doubt. Okay. Now the second layer, what is the second layer? If you want I'll show it also. The cell envelope it consisting of glycocalyx, cell wall and plasma membrane. Till now I discussed about glycocalyx. Now I am starting the second layer, that is called as cell wall. Now let us go for the details of that. Yeah, this is a cell wall. Cell wall of the prokaryote it is made up of peptidoglycan substance which is simply called as murin. Very important question. Students, you 100% need to remember this point because this question is asked many times in your NEET exam. So the cell wall of bacteria it is made up of which substance? Then your answer must be peptidoglycan, or in options if it is given murin then you can go for murin, but usually 90% in your NEET exam they will ask peptidoglycan only. You just tick mark that peptidoglycan. Again I am telling you, the cell wall of the bacteria it is made up of a substance called as peptidoglycan, which is a type of mucopeptide. Such cell wall which is made up of peptidoglycan it consisting of two parts. The first part it is polysaccharides. This polysaccharides they may be made up of glucose or may be made up of mannose or may be made up of galactose or anything or any two also. Sometimes glucose mannose will be there or mannose galactose will be there, but whatever it is, these are the basic polysaccharides that can be seen in the cell wall. Along with the polysaccharides you can also see amino sugars. Very important question it is. The amino sugars that are present in peptidoglycans, peptidoglycan is, the first one is N-acetyl glucosamine. Very simply NAG. That means N-acetyl glucosamine. And the second amino sugar is N-acetyl muramic acid. NAM. N-acetyl muramic acid. These are the two amino sugars that are present in the peptidoglycan, and these amino sugars NAG and NAM they are joined by the short peptide chains or cross bridges of amino acids, and that amino acids are alpha or D alanine or glutamic acid. Again I am telling you, see, the cell wall it is present. The cell wall it is made up of peptidoglycan. This peptidoglycan it is made up of two substances, one polysaccharide and the second one is amino sugars. Polysaccharides may be glucose, mannose and galactose. Amino sugars they are N-acetyl glucosamine and N-acetyl muramic acid, where this N-acetyl glucosamine and N-acetyl muramic acid they need to join. For joining, there are some short peptide chains or cross bridges of amino acids like alpha D alanine or glutamic acids. So with the help of alanine or glutamic acid, this NAG and NAM they are joined. Hope you understood what is the cell wall. Along with these two, that means polysaccharides and amino sugars, there are some other substances also can be seen in the cell wall, and these two are basic substances. That means a peptidoglycan cell wall must consisting of polysaccharides and amino sugars, but these are like some other extra substances. These extra substances they are diamino pimelic acid. Diamino pimelic acid, this is a non-proteinaceous amino acid found in all the eubacteria and blue green algae. That means yesterday you remember my lesson, I told bacteria it is divided into three types. The first one is eubacteria, the second one is archaebacteria, and the third one is cyanobacteria. In this three bacteria, eubacteria and blue green algae consisting of this diamino pimelic acid, whereas in archaebacteria this is absent. Please try to understand. And the next one is muramic acid, and this is an acid which can be seen in only eubacteria and blue green algae. It is absent in archaebacteria. Whereas a teichoic acid, very important acid, you have to remember this question. This teichoic acid it is present only in gram positive eubacteria. Again, eubacteria is divided into gram positive and gram negative. Please give me 5 minutes time. I will clearly explain what is gram positive and gram negative. Just for 2 minutes you just remember gram positive itna hi, but details just give me 5 minutes. I'm going to explain very detailed about gram positive and gram negative. So teichoic acid it is present in only gram positive of eubacteria. Okay, generally the cell wall of the prokaryotes they are not at all made up of cellulose because they are made up of peptidoglycan, whereas there are some bacteria their cell walls are even made up of the cellulose. The example is Acetobacter. This Acetobacter bacterium it consisting of cellulose cell wall. Remaining all the bacteria it consisting of the cell wall which is made up of peptidoglycan, whereas this acetobacter acetogenum and Acetobacter xylenum, these and Zymosarcina, these are the three bacteria where their cell walls are made up of cellulose. Very peculiar and unique characters. This type of unique characters only will be asked in your NEET exam. You understood na? So this is how you need to prepare in your NEET exams. These are tricky. See, all the prokaryotic cells they are made up of peptidoglycan. Only this Acetobacter acetogenum, Acetobacter xylenum, and also Zymosarcina. These three bacteria, their cell walls are made up of cellulose. That means they are not matching with other bacteria. Am I correct or not? This type of peculiar and unique type of questions will be asked in your NEET exams. Whereas the last point of the cell wall is this cell wall, it can be dissolved by an enzyme called as lysozyme enzyme. When you dissolve the cell wall of the bacteria with the help of lysozyme enzyme, this bacteria becomes thin, and that thin bacteria which is not having the cell wall which is dissolved by the lysozyme enzyme, that is called as Lister form bacteria. So simply it is called as L form or L phase bacteria, which is otherwise called as cell wall deficient bacteria. So this is called as Lister form bacteria. Very simple. If you are removing the cell wall by using lysozyme enzyme, it becomes thinner. That thin bacteria only it is called as Lister form bacteria. With this, I completed the second part of the cell envelope. What is the third part of the cell envelope? Plasma membrane. Hope you remember. Now I am going to explain about plasma membrane, but you remember after just 5 minutes I told I will explain gram positive and gram negative. Once I finish gram positive and gram negative, and then we will go for the third part of the cell envelope, that is plasma membrane. First we will discuss about gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Now there is a scientist, his name is Gram. That's why it is called as a Gram bacteria. He discovered it because he gave his name only to that bacteria. Based on the staining property, he differentiated bacteria, eubacteria, into two groups. What are they? Gram positive bacteria and gram negative bacteria. What does it mean? We will understand so clearly. Let us take some eubacteria. Now this eubacteria, you start staining them by using crystal violet, and after staining with crystal violet, you add 2-3 drops of potassium iodide solution also, Ki solution also. Again I'm telling you, take some bacteria, you start staining, you add some crystal violet followed by Ki solution, and after you add crystal violet and Ki solution, keep it for let us take 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes you wash that particular bacteria either by using acetone or ethyl alcohol, what is available. You use it, either you wash them with acetone or you wash them with ethyl alcohol. Then if the bacteria, if it remains this violet color, that bacteria it is called as gram positive bacteria. Whereas if they become decolorized, then that is called as gram negative bacteria. Now you understood, na? Very simple. After staining, the bacteria which remains violet color, they are called as gram positive. The bacteria which decolorizes, then that is called as gram negative bacteria. Now you understood, na? Then what is the difference between gram positive and gram negative bacteria? Let us see. What are they? Gram positive bacteria, the cell wall is smooth, rigid and very thick. Whereas gram negative bacteria, the cell wall is wavy, that means it is irregularly present and less rigid and thin. Whereas the gram positive bacteria, the cell wall is single layered, whereas here in gram negative the cell wall is two layered. It contains cell walls, two layers of cell walls are present. In gram positive bacteria, peptidoglycan percentage is 70 to 80 percentage, whereas in gram negative bacteria, the percentage is only 10 to 20 percentage. See how less it is, not even half, less than half. Now, most important question, many times asked question, I am telling you, you have to remember this question. Gram positive bacteria cell walls, they consisting of teichoic acid, whereas teichoic acid is completely absent in gram negative. That is the reason why it did not absorb the violet color, because teichoic acid is present, it absorbed the purple color. Now you understood now why it is called as gram positive and gram negative. Now gram positive bacteria, they are very sensitive to penicillin and they are not sensitive to penicillin. Hope you know, na, penicillin is a kind of antibiotic. If you get some allergy or some aero allergies, then when you go to doctor, he will give some penicillin antibiotic, na, yes, penicillin injection, and that is nothing but this penicillin antibiotic. Okay. Whereas mesosome is quite prominent. Just give me 10 minutes and I'll tell you what is mesosome. Otherwise you can't understand now. Just you remember the name now. Just in 10 minutes I'll explain what is mesosome. Okay. Mesosome is quite prominent and mesosome is very less prominent, and few pathogenic bacteria, they belongs to gram positive, and it indicates that it includes most of the pathogenic bacteria. That means most of the pathogenic bacteria, they belongs to gram negative than gram positive. Now you understood now what is gram positive and gram negative. But still if you don't understand, you can ask me any doubt. Okay. Now the third part, hope you remember na, cell envelope, the third part is plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is thin, elastic and semi-permeable membrane just below the cell wall, which helps in the passage of the dissolved substances from outside to inside of the cell. And this plasma membrane, it is made up of large amount of phospholipids and proteins and very small amounts of polysaccharides. Okay, this is the composition of the cell membrane. Now you tell me cell membrane, it is made up of dash and dash and dash. There are three components: phospholipids, proteins, and polysaccharides. This is how you need to remember. Okay, where very important question I'm telling you, the plasma membrane or cell membrane of the prokaryotes, it consisting of an infold, and this infold, it is called as mesosome. Students, I will show you the diagram, then you will understand. Otherwise you don't understand. Just give me half a minute, I'll show you the diagram. Okay, yes, this is a outer membrane which is called as glycocalyx. Okay, and this is a middle layer that is called as cell wall which is made up of peptidoglycan. See, innermost black line is there na, this is called as plasma membrane. Now the plasma membrane, see, this is a plasma membrane. Follow my arrow mark, then you will understand. Plasma membrane, and it is showing an infold. आपने देखा ना, so this is the infold, and this infold of the plasma membrane, it is called as a mesosome. Now shall we go back? Hope you understood now. The plasma membrane consisting of an infold, and this infold of the plasma membrane is called as a mesosome. Now let us go back and study what is mesosome. Okay, yes, this mesosome, which is also called as chondrioid, which is discovered by F. James. Who is the one who discovered? F. James is the one who discovered the mesosome. This cell membrane of the bacteria has an infold at the midpoint of the prokaryotic cell, and that infold, it is called as mesosome, and it is more prominent in gram-positive bacteria. Now you understood na? Yes, just 2-3 minutes back what I told, mesosome is prominent in gram-positive. Now you understood? This is the meaning of it. Very good. Mesosome is present, but what it will do? This is a very important question. Functions of the mesosome. Mesosome function is respiration. That means mesosome consisting of certain respiratory enzymes like oxidases and also dehydrogenases. With the help of these enzymes, it helps in respiration. That is the reason why the mesosome of the prokaryote is also called as mitochondria of the bacterial cell. Hope you understood. Na? In our body, in our cells, which cell organelle perform respiration? Tell me. Mitochondria. Whereas cell prokaryotes may, you know na, there are no cell organelles. All the cell organelles are absent except ribosomes. Because it don't have any cell organelle, it needs some special part for respiration, and that special part only it is called as mesosome. That's why it is called as mitochondria of bacterial cell. Now you understand na? And as this mesosome, it is present in the mid part of the cell, it helps in the equal distribution. That means cell division. That means binary fission time mein mesosome only, it deepens that particular cell and cuts the cell into two daughter cells. So mesosome, one way it helps in respiration, and the second way it also helps in the cell division. Now we understood now, where it also helps in the synthesis of the cell wall material. And in some prokaryotes, especially photosynthetic prokaryotes like cyanobacteria, you can be able to see the membranous extensions which are arranged into the cytoplasm, which are also called as chromatophores, which consisting of the photosynthetic pigments. Okay, now these are the functions of mesosomes. Now with this we completed the first part of the bacterial cell. This is cell envelope. We completed glycocalyx, we completed cell wall, and now plasma membrane. Now we are going to the second part, that is nothing but cytoplasm. Yes, here is a cytoplasm. Cytoplasm, inside the cell you can be able to see some complex aqueous fluid, that a semi-fluid, the semi-fluid ground substance, that is called as a cytoplasm. It's just a fluid inside the cell. It is filled up with a fluid, that aqueous fluid only are calling it as a cytoplasm. The most important point I'm telling you, prokaryotic cytoplasm don't have any cell organelle, no mitochondria, no chloroplast, no endoplasmic reticulum, no Golgi complex, nothing. Only one cell organelle is present, that is nothing but a ribosome. Apart from ribosome, nothing, no cell organelle is present in the cytoplasm of the prokaryotes. Such cytoplasm, it consisting of what all the substances. Let us see. The first part is nothing but chromatin material. Of course you can call it as genetic material. Chromatin material, genetic material, meaning is same, so you can call anything, so no problem. And the second part is the ribosomes, and the third part is photosynthetic granules, only present in the photosynthetic bacteria. For example, if I did not ask about photosynthetic bacteria, for example, if I asked about parasite, describe the structure of the parasitic bacteria, then you should not write this, because photosynthetic granules are present only in the photosynthetic bacteria. That means all the bacteria do not consisting of photosynthetic granules. This point you have to remember, otherwise you will confuse and you will make mistake. Now, it also consisting of certain storage granules, which are also called as inclusion bodies. That means accessory particles of the cell. Let us take one after one. First part, it is called as chromatin material. If you want, you can write genetic material, because the meaning is same, so no problem. Such chromatin material or genetic material in prokaryotes, it is nucleoid. So nucleoid is the actual genetic material of a prokaryotic cell, which is also called as genophore or naked nucleus. Why it is called as a naked nucleus? Hope you know, but still I am telling you, the nucleus, it is not covered by any nuclear membrane. That's why it is called as a naked nucleus or incipient nucleus. You write anything, because meaning is, when the meaning is same, you write genophore also, but still it is valid. We will give you marks, so no problem. So nucleoid is the actual genetic material of the prokaryotic cell, which is a double helical and circular DNA, which is surrounded by some typical proteins called as polyamines. Whereas if you take an eukaryote, this genetic material, it consisting of histone proteins, but in prokaryotes, histone proteins are absent. In the place of histone proteins, you can be able to see polyamines. What is then, when I'm telling, you will get a doubt, what is the job of this polyamines and histones? See, basically this DNA, it is a long thread like structure. When it is a long thread like structure, it should not be scattered. That's why what happens, for example, sometimes you will see some boys, this some small boys, they play with the top and thread. Am I correct or not? So this thread, how they coil like that, this DNA long thread, it gets coiled around this particular polyamines. So polyamines helps in coiling of the DNA in prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes, the coiling of the DNA, it is done by histone proteins. Okay, now you understood, I think so. Now, there are certain bacteria, along with the actual genetic material nucleoid, there is one more genetic material also present, that is called as plasmid. 100% many students who are listening to this lecture, they will definitely get a doubt. Sir, you told the nucleoid is the actual genetic material of the prokaryotes just 5 minutes back. So again you are telling plasmid is also genetic material, when already the actual genetic material is present in the prokaryotic cell. Why some bacteria, they also consisting of plasmid? This is a usual doubt. Most of the students, they will get while I'm teaching. Very important question I'm telling you. In some bacteria, there are phagocytes, they are pathogenic. What is the meaning of pathogenic? They enters into the host cell. In the host cell, they create some diseases. That's why they need protection from antibiotics, the antibodies that are released by the host cell. For that, only nucleoid is not sufficient. That's why they are developing some one more genetic material, extra chromosomal DNA. That extra chromosomal DNA, it is called as a plasmid. This word, it is given by Lederberg. And what is the function of this plasmid? They are helpful in resistance to antibiotics. This is a very important point, students. You have to remember this point, because it is already asked question in your NEET, and it is going to be asked again and again. Now you tell me, what is the actual genetic material of the this prokaryotes? Nucleoid. But still they are having plasmid. Why they are having plasmid? You try to answer by yourself. Because some of the bacteria they are living in others bodies. That's why they need some antibiotic protection. For the antibiotic protection, they are developing some extra genetic material called as plasmid. Hope you understood now. The second part of the cytoplasm is ribosomes. In the prokaryotes, 70s type of ribosomes. Hope you know. In eukaryotes, you can be able to see 80s type of ribosomes. Ribosomes are of again many types. In that prokaryotic cell consisting of 70s ribosomes, and eukaryotes they consisting of 80s ribosomes. Where this is 70s ribosomes, they are made up of two subunits. They are 50 subunit large subunit called as 50s, and small subunit it is called as 30s. And sometimes in some bacteria, many ribosomes they gets attached to a single mRNA molecule. Because many ribosomes are attached to single mRNA molecule, this type of ribosome it is called as polyribosome or polysome. Poly means many. Many ribosomes are attached to single mRNA. That's why it is called as it is called as polyribosome or polysome. And ribosomes ka function is protein synthesis. They helps in the production of the proteins. Now the third part of the cytoplasm is photosynthetic granules. As I already so clearly mentioned, photosynthetic granules are not present in all the bacteria, because all the bacteria are not photosynthetic. Students, you please remember this point, never forget this, because it is not present in all the bacteria. The reason is all the bacteria are not photosynthetic. Only in the photosynthetic bacteria these photosynthetic granules are present. They are formed by the plasma membrane. Plasma membrane gives rise to large vesicular thylakoid-like structures which consisting of the photosynthetic pigments like bacteriochlorophyll or bacterioviridin, which helps in the photosynthesis. Whereas these photosynthetic granules are absent in non-photosynthetic bacteria. And the last part of the cytoplasm is storage granules, or you can also call it as inclusion bodies. These inclusion bodies are of, the first one it is glycogen and sulfur granules, and the second one is poly beta hydroxy butyric acid granules. Poly beta hydroxybutyric acid granules, very simply PHB. And the third type of granules are nothing but volutin granules. Let us take one after one. First one, glycogen and sulfur granules. These glycogen and sulfur granules are also called as polysaccharide granules. I'm extremely sorry, I did a very small mistake. These glycogen granules are called as polysaccharide granules, not sulfur granules. Whereas they can be stained with the help of iodine solution, and by electron microscopy they appears as a dark granules. So they look like very dark granules, and they serves as a reserve food material, because bacteria sometimes it don't get food material. When it don't get food material, body may some reserve stock must be there na. That reserve food material, that reserve stock of food material is nothing but glycogen granules. Now the next one is poly beta hydroxybutyric acid granules, and these are polymer of lipid-like material and chloroform soluble granules. These are all chloroform soluble and often found in aerobic bacteria. And what they do, they act as a reservoir of carbon, and they also act as energy sources. Now, the last one is volutin granules, and volutin granules are first of all reported in Spirillum volutans. Spirillum volutans may first time these volutin granules are observed, and they are also called as metachromatic granules. Metachromatic granules composed of polyphosphates, and they serves like a reservoir of phosphates. So this is all about the cytoplasm. Now let us take the next part. The next part is flagella. Hope you remember. Otherwise, I'll show you also. Yes. With this we completed the cytoplasm. Now two more parts are there: flagella and pilus and fimbriae. Now I'm explaining about flagella, and then I'll go for the last part. Okay. Yes, this is the next part, flagella. Flagella are thread-like protoplasmic appendages which extend through the cell wall and slimy layer and helps in the swimming and movement. Whereas myxobacteria, they don't have the flagella. Then how they move? When they don't have flagella, how they move? They move with the help of gliding movements. Whereas bacterial flagella are the most primitive motile organs, and this flagellum is composed of a protein called as flagellin. So flagellin is a protein by which this flagellum is made up of. Now let us go for all the details of this flagella. Okay, if you take one flagella, the flagella, it consisting of three parts. The first part, it is basal body. See, this is called basal body. See, I wrote it here. Of course I did not write, I just pasted. Okay, so this is basal body, and the next one is hook. So this is hook, and the third part, it is called as filament. So this is filament, and it is so long, but in the diagram we can't show it now, that's why we restricted. It is very long. How long? See, itna bada, dekho, itna long. Okay, now this is chromatin. I'm sorry, I'm extremely sorry. This is the first part is basal body. This is the basal part of the flagellum. See, it is present at the base. Now this basal body, it is a proteinaceous rod shaped structure. It is a protein rod shaped structure within the cell wall and cell membrane, and which consisting of two pairs of rings. See, this is one pair of ring, and this is another pair of ring. And outer pair, see, I'm talking about outer pair of ring, and this is inner pair of ring. Outer pair of ring, it consisting of two rings. What are they? This is the outer ring, that is called as L ring, and these are all made up of proteins. Students, all these rings are made up of proteins, so that they can attach to the body. For example, imagine basal body is not there, then what happens? The bacteria, the flagella cannot attach to this bacteria. For example, our hair, it is attached to our head. How it is skin of the head, how it is attached with the help of scalp. How our scalp, like that basal body. That's it. Very very simple. You just need to understand. The only thing is, when you are listening, you try to match this structure with our scalp, then you will understand so clearly. Now this is for example, our scalp, it is made up of what? Like that, it is made up of these protein rings, outer pair of ring and also inner pair of ring. Outer pair of ring may, the first ring it is called as L ring, and the second ring it is called as a P ring. And inner ring, see, this is a inner ring. Inner ring may, the outer ring it is called as S ring, and the inner ring it is called as M ring. See, L ring, P ring, this is outer pair, and S ring and M ring, this is inner pair. And with the help of this, the basal body, it is composed, so that this flagella can tightly attach to the body of the prokaryotic cell. Where in gram positive bacteria, very important question, very important question, I'm telling you, in gram positive bacteria, only this inner ring is present, outer ring is absent. In gram negative bacteria only you can be able to see both the rings, whereas in gram positive bacteria, only inner ring, that means S and M rings only present, and this L and M ring is absent. Now the second part, this is the second part, this is called hook. And hook, it is a middle part which is connecting the basal body to the filament, and some part it even attaches, it even gets entered into the cell wall also. And the filament, it is a hollow cylindrical structure made up of a contractile protein called as a flagellin, so that it can move from one place to another place. Filament is the actual structure which helps the flagella to move. Okay, this is the structure of flagella. Okay, now flagellation, that means how many types of what do you call, arrangements are there in the prokaryotes in terms of flagella. Let us see. Some bacteria, they don't have flagella at all. If flagella is completely absent, then that is called as atrichous bacteria. See, atrichous, single flagella is also not there, that's why it is called as atrichous. What is the best example? Pasturella and Lactobacillus. Pasturella and Lactobacillus. These are the perfect examples for atrichous bacteria. Monotrichous, in the name itself you can see the meaning mono. What is the meaning of mono? Single. Only one flagella is present. Then that is, see, only one flagella. Ab dekho, see, this is a bacterial cell and usko ek hi flagellum hai. Hence it is called as monotrichous bacteria. And what is the best example? Thiobacillus and Vibrio cholerae. Perfect examples for this. And Lophotrichus. What do you mean Lophotrichus? Only one end पे many bacteria. See, I'm extremely sorry. Many flagella present at only one end. See, एक ही end पे, दूसरा end खाली है. आप आपने देखा ना? So this is the second end where single flagella is also not there, whereas many flagella like a group they are attached to one end, then that is called as Lophotrichus. The best example is Spirulum volutans. Spirulum volutans is the best example. And Amphitrichus, in the name itself, amphi means what? Both. On both the sides, flagella are present, then that is called as Amphitrichus. The best example is Nitrosomonas. Peritrichus. Peri means many, so many are present, then that is called as peritrichus. That means many flagella present throughout the body of the bacteria. See, throughout the body of the bacteria you can see flagella, then that is called as peritrichus. The best example is Escherichia coli. I think every one of us know what is Escherichia coli. And Clostridium tetani. And cephalotrichus means on both the ends group of bacteria, group of flagella you can see, then that is called as cephalotrichus. Okay, and the example is Pseudomonas. So this is all about the types of bacteria based on the flagella. Now the last topic, with this I completed today's I'm completing today's topic, and with this we are also completing eubacteria. Hope you remember now. Monirans are differentiated into archaebacteria. I'm sorry, first one is eubacteria, archaebacteria and cyanobacteria. With this last topic I am completing this eubacteria, and tomorrow onwards I am going to start archaebacteria. Now the first one, the last one is pilus and pili and fimbriae. Besides flagella, there are some tiny structures, hair-like outgrowths called as pili and fimbriae. Now let us take pili and then we'll take fimbriae. First one is pili. Pili are elongated tubular structures. If you want, I'll show you. See. These are pili, okay? These pili are elongated tube-like structures, and this pili made up of a protein called as pilin protein, arranged helically around the central halo core, whereas it is present almost all the gram-negative bacteria and very less of the gram-positive. And hope you remember my yesterday's class. With the help of this pili, the conjugation takes place. You please read the yesterday's lecture also. In that, reproduction, parasexual reproduction of bacteria, yaad aa raha hai na? In that, conjugation takes place with the help of this pili. At the time of conjugation, the F plus bacteria attaches to the F minus bacteria with the help of this pili. And pili, it is not for motility, and motility के लिए I already explained flagellum is present, whereas pili क्या करेगा? It helps in attachment to the other bacterial cell at the time of conjugation. So sex pili acts as conjugation canals through which the DNA it passes from one cell to the other cell. Now the last one is a fimbriae. Fimbriae are also called as short pili, and they are infective pili. You can write anything because meaning is same na, short pili or infective pili, which are present only in pathogenic bacteria. Non-pathogenic bacteria, that means the bacteria which can't create any disease, in that bacteria mein fimbriae are absent. Yaad rakh. Only the bacteria which can cause diseases, that bacteria only consisting of this fimbriae. That's why, did you notice this in this fimbriae it is not mentioned? Maybe it is non-phagogenic. That's why here the fimbriae is not mentioned. Otherwise, if you see the first in this fimbriae it is mentioned. See, did you notice it or not? Now fimbriae are what? Fimbriae are the bristle-like structures which helps in the attachment to the host cell or even attachment to the any substance. So this is all today's lesson. Thank you so much, and tomorrow onwards we will start a new topic that is called as archaebacteria, second type of monirans. Okay, thank you so much.